Hi everyone, it's Don and I hope you're having a fantastic week. Well, as somebody who cruises a lot, even before I started cruising when I was younger and I was just cruising out as a young person, uh, people were willing to give advice. And, I can't complain about that because that's kind of what I do here. But I just want to go over, yeah, 5 of the worst cruise advice I've ever heard. Number 1, no, don't book that cabin right now. It's too expensive. Wait, because as you get closer and closer and closer, that price is going to go down, guaranteed. Uh, no. First off, it's not guaranteed. Also, there's ways around that, especially if you're using an agent. First off, you lock in that price, so at least you know your price will never go up. There are often times where cruise prices go up before the cruise, if they're a popular cruise or a popular ship or a popular time of year. Look at Christmas. Look at the week before Christmas and then look at Christmas week and you can see it's up about 50 to 60% over the week before. So yeah, prices do go up. This way you lock in your cabin. Not only that, you lock in a cabin you want. You're not stuck taking the leftovers of all the good cabins that were gone and people chose where they want to be on the ship, and now you're underneath the pool, or you're over the theater, or you're beside the kids club. You're in a bad location because you waited. And also, if you book a cruise and you have a price drop, you can always ask to have the price refared to the new price. So why are you waiting? Book the cruise you want, lock in that price so you never have to pay more, and then if the price drops down, get your travel agent just to drop the price and buy into it. It's pretty simple. This way you get the cabin you want and the best possible price. Number 2, never ever do specialty dining, because you know what? The steaks that you get in the main dining room, they're coming from the same kitchen that's coming from the specialty restaurant. So you're getting the same food, you're just paying more. No, you're not. It's a completely separate kitchen, by the way. Completely separate chefs, completely separate recipes. It's not being made for 1,000 people at a time. It's being made for 30 people at a time. You see the difference. If you ever check this out, the quality of the meat in a specialty restaurant and the food and the experience is much different than the main dining room. The main dining room is perfectly acceptable. The food is quite edible. It's quite good. But, that's like saying to yourself that, going to my local Denny's is the same as going to a Gordon Ramsay restaurant. It's not. It might be called the same food, but it tastes much better at the better restaurant. No, number 3, don't book your shore excursion ahead of time. When you get off the ship, there's lots of shore excursions there, and you can just walk over, and it's always cheaper than you can get on the cruise ship, or, calling ahead. Okay, this one is half truth. Number 1, yes, you can get sometimes cheaper if you just get off the ship, book it right there, and head out. Absolutely. Sometimes, say, on a shore excursion that's around $200, you can probably get it for $160, $170, saving $30 a person. If you're a family of 4, that's $120. That's a lot of money. Remember, though, that you are also now not being guaranteed getting back to the ship if anything happens. So if you're in port for 9 hours and you go on a 7.5-hour excursion and something happens, like the bus breaks down, they don't have to wait for you. Where if you're on a cruise ship excursion, they'll wait for you or send another bus for you. They'll make sure they're tracking what's going on. But that's not the big thing is. The big thing is not all shore excursions have unlimited capacity. So here's an example. In Alaska, they have the Bering Sea Deadliest Catch excursion, and it has 2 sailings per day. 2. And if you book it through the cruise line, quite often it sells out on the cruise line. So if you wait till you go on shore and you ask and try and get on it, then there's none available. You've missed out on the shore excursion that you wanted to do. And when you're planning so far in advance for your cruise and you're planning what you want to do and you're all excited, sometimes you book a year and a half out. Is it really worth, you're spending $5,000 on a cruise cabin or wherever you're going, is it really worth $100 to not be able to enjoy the cruise that, excursion that you really wanted to do? I'm not talking I get off the ship and I can take a tram up top and take a view. No, those are unlimited. You can just keep going. I'm talking limited availability shore excursions. If there's something that you absolutely want to do on your trip, make sure that you're going to get it, because you don't want to second chance guess yourself and you don't want to miss out on probably the one thing you really wanted to do on that cruise. Number 4, always check the box for that cabin upgrade, because it's free. I always book the lowest, cheapest cabin I can, and then I wait for my cabin upgrade. Okay, if you're booking an inside sail away cabin where you get no perks, no nothing, and the cruise line is choosing your cabin, sure, why not? Absolutely, check that box and hope they get an upgrade and see what happens. A lot of times you don't, but go ahead and give it a shot. But if you're, say, booking an inside cabin where you want cabins above, cabins below, not too noisy of an area, but a cheaper cabin and an inside, great, perfect. Or you have an accessible inside cabin, perfect. If you check the box for the upgrade, the cruise line is going to upgrade you to wherever they want. And you'll be notified, but you won't have a choice. The cabin may be gone by the time if you want to change your mind. So you could be put into a balcony, but you could be put in a balcony that's right over the engine, or right beside one of the anchor holes, or it's right beside the elevator, or it's right under the pool, and now you're not getting sleep. You don't have those cabins above you like you thought you would have. You have a bigger cabin, but it's much noisier and maybe not as enjoyable of a cruise. Also, a lot of the times, the cabin upgrade that they say they're giving you just moves you to a worse location, but it's a different category. So some of the categories on the lower deck, in a nice cabin, on a balcony, their categories say A, B. Well, if you go 3 decks up, it's an AC. They're the exact same cabins in the same location of the ship, but hey, guess what? Now we moved you up 3 decks and now you're under the skywalk and people can stare down at you on your balcony. But it's an upgrade. No, it's not necessarily an upgrade. If you can only afford the sail away cabin, that's what you go for. And expect whatever you get and that's perfectly fine. I do that all the time. But if you're a person who gets seasick, a person who doesn't sleep properly, a person who wants a balcony on a certain side of the ship, or you need to be near an elevator because you have mobility issues, or you're in an accessible cabin. If you're in an accessible cabin and you tick the upgrade box, they're not switching you to another accessible cabin. They're giving you an upgraded cabin, and it can be anything. So always be aware of checking that box. And a lot of people don't consider that. They just think an upgrade is an upgrade. It has to be better. And it's not always better. Number 5 is absolutely my favorite worst advice I've ever heard. It doesn't matter what cruise line you choose. They're all the same. Oh my goodness. If anybody out there has ever cruised before on more than one cruise line, you absolutely know they're not the same. I want you to go on a Cunard Queen Mary cruise, and then go on an Oasis of the Seas cruise, and then go on a Viking cruise, and tell me they're exactly the same. Absolutely not. Each cruise line has their own personality. They have their good sides, their bad sides. Every cruise line has bad sides, and no matter how much you love cruise lines and certain cruise lines, There's always something that other cruise lines do differently that you prefer a little bit better, right? You can say, for instance, you love Royal Caribbean. I love Royal Caribbean. Big ships, all the stuff you can do. The Broadway shows are amazing. All the specialty restaurants you can eat at. Yeah, it's fantastic. But you know what? I don't like that you have to reserve your shows in advance. I really don't like that. Okay, well, you love the cruise line, but there is something you don't like. On Princess Cruise Line, you go on to Princess, you say, oh, they don't have the water slides and they don't have, bumper cars on this cruise ship. But you know what? I can go to the show as many times as I want and I can sit wherever I want. I just have to be first come, first serve. I like that. Everybody has their own thing. So never ever think that a cruise line is the same as every other cruise line. Research them, take a look at some vlogs and videos out there of people on the ship showing you what's there. Choose what you think fits your personality and go with that. Price is always a consideration, but it's not the main thing. If you're going to spend $2,000 or you're going to spend $2,200, is it really worth going on a cruise line that you would rather be on the one that's only $200 more? Is it really worth that much more? Maybe wait another few months and save that $200 if you have to go on the cruise that you're going to enjoy the most. When I first started cruising, I did all the cheap cruises I could because it was all about the destination. And then as you just become more seasoned and want to cruise more, you know what's on different ships, you start going, I really want to go on that ship. Well, I cruise less because the cruises I want to go on were more expensive and I just had to save more for it. If I wanted to go only cheap, I could probably double the amount of cruises I do every year, but would I have as an enjoyable experience? And would I be going on a cruise line that I wanted to go on and know I'm going to have a good time? So that's something to consider. But if anyone ever tells you that all cruise lines are the same, just give them one of these. Just give them one of those looks because, yeah, there's no way that's true. Well, there you go. Those are the 5 things that I hear all the time, and I see people giving that advice. I even hear it when I'm on cruise ships. I just find it so funny that some people's idea of a tip can actually be a detrimental tip, and I take that as myself. Some of the advice I give out is skewered by my own opinion. So take that as well with a grain of salt. I'm only giving you my opinion and explaining why I have that opinion. It's not because my word is law, but if you hear some of these people, their word is law. Trust them, they can't be wrong. But they are. I hope you liked this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. You want to see more tips, more tricks, more travel vlogs from around the world? Hit that subscribe button and don't forget to turn in on the 30th of this month. I have something special to announce on the channel that I've never done before, so stay tuned.